Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I'm your host, Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. So I am so excited about today's show. So housekeeping stuff, we need to do a little tiny bit of housekeeping stuff. If you are on Facebook, Lorilei, I may need a wee bit of help. If I forget anything, please feel free to chime in. If you are on Facebook and chiming in through chat, you may need to pop on over to StreamYard and just give us StreamYard permission to use your name and photo. You can stay anonymous if you want. That's okay too. You can watch us on YouTube. Roku. If you wanted to watch us on TV, you could watch us on Roku. It is UFO Paranormal Radio Network. I believe that you look us up under.
Yeah, you have to go to the channel store though, because we don't have the code. So you just type in UFO space P as in paranormal. We're about the third or fourth one down, I think, on the drop down list. And you're looking for UFO Paranormal and United Public Network Radio, not network radio. And that's us. Sorry.
Just no. Help. Yes. No, that's exactly what I need. Is that little bit of help with all of that stuff. So today's show, I wanted to invite my friends and colleagues who are working mediums the same as me, where we're doing this stepping away from maybe traditional professions that we've had and stepping into doing this full time, and what's that like, and having a community for people that are wanting to open up, and a community or a network or a support system for people who are doing this full time and understanding what this is like. So being on this journey and doing this work professionally and personally. So I invited the three people that I enjoy and admire and feel are just bright lights for the world, is how I feel. So I just wanted to have you guys on. So I'm going to pass it over to Lorilei. I'm going to get each of you to introduce yourself. We're going to go in a clockwise fashion. So we're going to go to Lorilei first, then to Julie and Kim. If you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourselves and giving a little bit of bio and background.
Not at all. Thank you so much for having me join you here today. I've been so excited about this all week. The only date was Tuesday. I wasn't podcasting, and this was the show I was looking forward to. So thank you for having me. My name's Lorilei Potvin. I am a host here on the network. Actually, we're coming up to my 5th anniversary here. 5 years. It went by so fast on UPRN.
Wow.
July. So I have 2 shows on the network. I have the Angel Rock on Mondays live from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I have a second show that I had a concept I worked on with my amazing co-host and friend. He's also a medium, David Hansel, and that's Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. And that is the thing at the foot of the bed. Very quickly, I am a psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher and mentor, registered nurse, budding animal communicator, well-versed in near-death experiences and the paranormal. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Kraus, and I'm so happy to be on and to be speaking with all of you ladies. This is so great. So I'm a spiritual advisor. So what that is a big old umbrella. So underneath that is an intuitive life coach, a psychic, and a medium. So I do energetic upgrades, which are one-on-one psychic and mediumship readings. I do intuitive life coaching. I also have a community-based website, I guess you could say, for people with open hearts and open minds looking to gain more insight into their own spirituality and connect with the other side. And I just started a program for people who want to start becoming intuitive life coaches. So that's what I do.
You do a lot of great work.
Oh,
a lot. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Kim?
So, my name is Kim Sage, and like everyone else, I'm so honored to be here with all of you. I'm a psychic medium in Central Virginia, where I offer private readings, gallery readings. I do a segment called Sage Advice on my Facebook page on Thursday nights. What else do I do? I feel like we do all the things.
We do. Paranormal investigations.
Right? It's like, what do I mention? Grief coaching. So I love helping people not only do readings, but help with their grief as well. And then in my free time, I'm a member of FPRI in Fredericksburg paranormal team. So I do intuitive investigations with them.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda. Hi, everybody. There are so many people chiming in today. Thank you so much for being here. Having you guys participate in the chat, everyone that's in the chat room, really helps make our show. Like, without you guys, it just wouldn't be what it is. So I appreciate all of you being here and supporting all of us. Thank you so much, Keith. I just wanted to... I'm wondering if it's not playing on.
I'll check for you, but sometimes that happens, and they might just have to close their page. Let me check for you.
I see it on my phone, so I have my phone playing underneath, and it's playing.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Joe Fox, we can see you. We can see we can see you. So I don't think that you need to go to StreamYard. I think that you're great just the way that you are. Yeah, it's because we're doing the panel today and we're focusing. We have, we have all four of us here. I may not get to all the comments, but I'm going to do my very best to do so. Lorilei, if you don't mind helping a wee bit with monitoring the chat,
I
that
will
would be
do whatever you need.
Yeah. So I never talk about what I do when I open up the podcast. Like when I start each segment, I never talk about it. I
was thinking that, when we were all talking, I thought, I don't think Carolyn does that.
I don't. And it's funny too, because I did, I try to do at least 4 big charity events a year. And I'm very humbled and grateful that I'm in that position, financially, that this has been my full-time career for 17 years. And I used to do hair. So I was working as a hairstylist, single mom with 4 kiddos, and pushed. I wouldn't say that I chose to do this. I was pushed to do this. And when I asked Spirit, okay, so I was at that point of understanding of manifesting anyway, right? Like, please let me have at least this much money in tips or something greater. And thank you very much in order for me. And sometimes it was for me to be able to pay for meds for the kids, have groceries and a wee bit at the end left over, right? So it was, if this is what you're really needing me to do full time, I'm in, but I need so many people to ask me for a session before the end of the week. And if that happens, I'm all in. I will jump in and take the leap. And it was not easy, but it happened. So that was 17 years ago. I guess my baby was 19 yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday to him. I saw that.
Yeah, he's so cutie patootie. So yeah, it's been that long for me doing this full time. And I just know that if we're pushed, there's a bigger meaning to it. And if we step into doing it and our thoughts, our words, and our actions are in alignment, it just flows and grows in such a beautiful way. So I just wondered, kind of, if you felt comfortable sharing what that journey was like from what you were doing prior. And I know that, not to out you too much, Kimmy, but I know this is something that you're shifting into now. So those emotions are raw and new, right? So maybe we'll go counterclockwise this way, and we'll start with you.
Yeah. So I didn't start this journey. I always knew I was different, my whole life. But I shut things down for quite a while. And then I didn't start taking classes till 8 years ago because I shut it down because I didn't know boundaries and it scared me. So I went with the intentions of learning boundaries with learning spirit work. So anyway, fast forward, I've come from a background of most recently working in the hospital system and healthcare. And I had to have a major surgery, and I can't go back. So I've been doing readings professionally for 4 years now for the public. And then when it came to, I can't physically go back to my hospital job, but I love still being in service and helping others. spirits just kind of paved the way. And if I trust in them and listen, and the same with you, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. I don't have that 9 to 5. I don't have that constant paycheck. But I tell them, I don't want to raise my, so this most recently happened. I was like, I don't want to raise my prices, but I really need more abundance. So I didn't even know this, but I must have an option to put a tip when people book services. So I've been getting more than what I ask for readings when people book. And I'm like, high five, thank you so much. So it just comes, like you said, I'm trusting in the process and just walking my path, and allowing spirit to help me be able to be in service of others. So
yeah, that's wonderful. And I found, the shift with money is very big when you decide to do this full time. So I think that maybe we can talk about that once we move through talking about our beginning journey doing this, if we could. Julie, would you feel comfortable sharing about your journey?
Sure. So I had a gym. I was a gym owner. And so because I had a gym, I was also a personal trainer. And I was so educated on the physical body, but I felt like so many of my clients, I would probably say like 80% of them, weren't reaching their goals all the time. And I was just, hitting my head against the wall saying, why? I don't understand. I'm teaching them everything that I know. But what I didn't realize was that it's so much more than just the physical body. It's about your mindset. It's about your emotions. If you're grieving, if you're depressed, or anything, if you're going through a hard breakup. So I realized that I wasn't equipped to work with people's emotions and thoughts to bust through those obstacles and those times where they felt really stuck. I didn't know what to say. So
Right.
I went to life coaching school. And through there, it was a holistic and integrative life coaching school. So they taught that in order to thrive, you need to be balanced in your emotions, your thoughts, your physical body, and your spiritual world. And so, because they brought that spiritual aspect in, I used to have that when I was younger. But when I had the gym, I told myself I had no time for that. And I just
Right.
pushed it away.
Right.
But once I started to go to life coaching school, you had to life coach yourself and also life coach other people and pull in that
Yeah.
spiritual aspect. And so everything that used to be within me when I was younger started to bubble up. And when I started to bring everything that I learned to the table to the clients, their lives started to change. And I said, oh my gosh, this is fascinating. And it was so much more fulfilling than, and this is no judgment to people who are personal trainers or have gyms. I just personally felt more fulfilled helping people with their emotions and their thoughts. And little did I know it was because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be connecting them to parts of themselves that they didn't know how to connect to. And along the way, I would get these little intuitive nudges, or I would see a deceased grandfather standing behind their left shoulder. And I was like, oh man, this is bigger than what I ever thought. So spirit really guided me in this direction when I really thought that my life was crumbling and I was, oh my gosh, I'm not connecting to the gym world anymore. And here I have a gym. What do I do with it? It was a really big deal. And also spirit was really closing the door. They weren't really bringing many new clients in. And I believe it was divine intervention to say, hey, you got to go this way. And ever since I started to do this, I am very blessed to say for my one-on-ones, I have to do very little marketing, if at all any. So when you're doing what you're supposed to do, it just comes in.
Yeah, 100%.
But I had to work hard on myself. I had to work really hard on myself to find my truth in alignment. Yeah.
That's the thing is the personal work is so important. And I have some thoughts about that. So we're going to come back around to that in a bit. Lorilei, can you share?
Sure. Actually, it resonated a lot with everybody's story, but some of the things Kim was talking about, I was like, wow. So I I'm going to be 59 in August. And I can remember back to when I was about 3 or 4, always seeming to have strange, weird things happen to me. My first paranormal experience in a really old house. When you come up here, Carrie Lynn, hopefully it's still standing. I think it is. We'll have to drive by it and see. But when I was 8, we moved to a brand new home that had been built from the ground up. And for 6 months, I knew nothing about the paranormal. Every night, woke up at 3 a.m. unable to breathe. Never found out why. And then as I worked as a nurse, had very unusual, strange things happen, like a room that I would check at the last minute. Say I'd be coming on shift, we'd have report. You have 60 patients. I used to work a lot of nights. I remember one in particular just walked right in the last room I would have went to and watched him, stop, had a cardiac arrest, and all kinds of stories like that. And then what really got me on this, I was already feeling the call, and I was still married to my first husband. And I started taking my certified angel card reading course way back, probably 15, 16 years ago. And long story short, what got me on this path was we went through an extreme, extreme haunting in my previous home. But as I followed that path, because I think that it happened to get me on that what I'm doing now, because I would not be doing it otherwise, I started trying to find answers. Why was this happening? My now partner I've been with for 15 years, he was thrown 15 feet across the kitchen, burnt, scratched, bit. We could see manifestations. We could see, and other people were experiencing this stuff. So I started to embrace my gifts and learn more and more about it. So it was later in life too when I started doing this. It was probably about 10, 12 years ago when I really took it seriously. Now, as a nurse, I hurt my back being a visiting community nurse. So I've always had a pension to fall back on, but I know how scary it is. Like if my pension was cut off tomorrow, and it's not big money, but you're the sole provider for all of this. But one thing I will add, my roommate that I lived with for quite a few years before I got married, one of my best friends at the time, and I told her what I'm now doing, and I didn't really want to tell her, and she practically blew me away. She goes, "I'm not surprised at all." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Laura, when we lived together, you would know things and I wouldn't know how you would know them." And so there was validation. But like I say, it was almost like I got clobbered over the head. And as I started doing this and really resonating with some of the answers I was seeking with this haunting, and I realized I've never been happier, never been busier, never met such wonderful people like you three right here. And I love what I'm doing right now.
You do spirit work every day. You are helping, tuning in, tapping in, supporting people with your shows, and people outside. You're part of panels. You're part of a light workers group. You do so much work daily, like spirit work, and it's a lot. It's physically a lot. I find when we are taking accountability of our personal journey, it shifts the level that we can tap into. So there's more clarity and confidence, and the information flows really well. And of service, you step out of the way, so it shouldn't necessarily make sense to us. Like I feel awkward daily with some of the stuff that I have to share because I don't know why I feel like I need to say this, but I'm smelling peanut butter.
I just don't feel comfortable with this, and then I got to tell myself, this isn't for me. This isn't for me.
Yes.
Deliver.
Yes. So you don't have to share if you don't feel comfortable doing so, but we definitely like the personal healing and accountability. My children and I were homeless for a 2-year period. And during that time period there was lots of things that were happening in accountability for myself and what was coming through in spirit and what we were needing to do. And, my kids learned a lot as well too. And for me to remember that they signed up to be with me they chose me to be mom. I chose them. This journey we're doing together. And I would say, what would it feel like when this happens? And so when we would get off kilter, we would go, okay, let's go back to what does that feel like as we're manifesting? So, and healing mentally, emotionally, physically, getting all in alignment, and you could just feel it moving forward. I try to encourage people that you can really, it's that the more that you do, the faster you hook in. I don't know if that's the term you guys use. We all have different spirit language that's personal to ourselves, right? But that hook in happens in a breath. I can feel it roll. Nose, third eye crown down my spine. Whoop! Okay. Here we go, right? So I don't know, like, so I'm grateful, even though I don't recognize that person who I was anymore. I'm not that same person. I am so grateful for the burden that she carried, the hurts and traumas that she went through, and getting me to where I'm at now. Right? Do you feel comfortable sharing what that journey may have been like for you guys, as far as moving through our personal healing? Because I get really hung up with, and I know it's going to sound judgy, but when I hear people go love and light, I'm like, oh, it's so cringy to me. If you were really love and light, you'd be snotty, ugly crying, because this is uncomfortable shit to deal with. You move through so much if you're being honest about where your journey, like, what you're bringing to the table and what you're needing to heal and recognize and unfold and unpack, right? It starts personal within, and then we give other people the tools. So if you don't mind, because I think it's inspiring for people to hear that. I think they get they see us where we're at here, and it's all and that's not how it starts. It's not how it starts. So Julie, do you mind maybe sharing
Sure.
a bit?
So I have 3 things that come to mind that were big things that I had to work on in order to feel more in alignment. And when I became more in alignment, I felt my vibration and frequency rise, and then my readings were just so fast and so clear. But they came in stages, and I'm not going to say which one came first, but I'll just name the 3. One of them was be impeccable with my word, my honesty, and my truth. And so I am a recovering people pleaser. So I'm an intuitive, an empath, and a sensitive. And so if I tell you no, not only am I going to say no, but I'm also going to feel your disappointment, which is going to make me hang on to that. And and I didn't have the tools to understand how to release that from my body and give you the accountability to say, but you're an adult, you can work with your emotions, and I'm going to work with my emotions, right? It was really hard for me to understand that. So I went on a really big journey of anything that I say, I really have to try to speak with honesty and truth, and not twist anything, not do anything for someone else that it doesn't feel right to me. And am I perfect? No, but I'm at a very good spot compared to what I used to be. I'm really doing great with it, to be honest. And the more that I speak truth, the higher your vibration is. And the higher your vibration is, the more you're a magnet to spirit. So that has been huge for me. Another has been my physical health. I used to be a chocoholic. I loved chocolate. And chocolate was something that if I was stressed, or if both of my babies were crying at the same time, or if I just needed the serotonin hit, I wouldn't need a lot. I would just need a little bit of chocolate, right? And then I'd feel better and move on throughout my day. Or like sugar was just a big thing for me. And I had all of these health panels done because I was not feeling well at all. I was always fatigued. I was always sick. And I was always in bed. And I thought it was because I was giving so many readings, or I just didn't get it. And here, my internal health needed a whole overhaul. So I gave up any alcohol, sugar, gluten, dairy, and like seed oils. And I'm on for over a year now, an extremely healthy, beautiful lifestyle. And my readings have just gone through the roof from doing that. But that was not easy at all. And especially because not only was it my nutrition, I had to heal so much physically inside of me, which took a lot of time and a lot of energy. So that was a huge journey, but that made me get closer to spirit, because I relied on that relationship. And then finally, learning business. You're good at your skill, right? But you're like, okay, I'm great at my skill. I don't want to work for anyone, but who the heck? I didn't know business, and so I had to teach myself a lot through trials and tribulations. And I'm very grateful for the spot that I'm in now. And through that is also the relationship with money, or knowing who to hire and when, and if you should hire, and who feels good to hire, because some people really like to take advantage of you, of your intuitiveness, rather than just coming, okay, no, we're in work mode. We're not reading each other. We're not talking. We're not emotionally exchanging anything. You come on, we're working, and then see you later. And I finally found a really great team for that. So it's been a lot. So that was a lot, but that's everything that I've been moving through.
Oh, thank you for sharing all of that. I think with boundaries, we have grief with boundaries, right? Like we grieve with the change in relationships, and we have to give ourselves permission to have that grief. Lorilei, you mind sharing about that?
Yeah, I'm taking notes.
You flushed the toilet. I saw you. Thank you.
I did. I flushed the toilet. No, but as I'm thinking, right, things come through and through from spirit. So for myself, I'm still a work in progress, as I think we all are. Yeah. But what I can say is, I think, first of all, most of us in this field, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of us, I always say, have not had a Brady Bunch, Leave It to Beaver, if you're old enough to know that series, that our upbringing was so wonderful and great. It's almost like we're all old souls coming into this. And it's like before we incarnate into this lifetime, we go, yeah, I'll handle that and that and that and that and that. And I always say, I wish I would have read the fine print, right? And not coming from a victim mentality, but I think that when we're working with people, because this is what we're doing, and I think we're doing very deep healing work. Like, Kim, you really touched my soul when you were talking about the grief counseling, because I am passionate about that. I always say I was so deeply blessed to be there at the beginning of life, hundreds of times working in the NICU. And then before I hurt my back, and I too cannot go back to physical nursing as it is, but I was so passionate about, death at home and palliative care, and then the grief counseling that goes with it. So for myself, I'm very open. Usually on my shows, if something comes up, I'm not afraid to share it. I was homeless. We ended up leaving our home, and I lost everything. And it was a really good life lesson looking back, because I realized it's just stuff, right? We're all healthy. We all got out okay. We are all living with a roof over our head and everything else. But I think that when we go through these experiences, and I always say it's so hard to hold the mirror up to our own faces, right? It takes a lot of courage and a lot of honesty to face what maybe the issues are that we may not be able to see. But it's always so easy for somebody, whether they love us or they don't know us, but from the outside looking in, it's easier to see. So there's a lot of healing that takes place, but I think, I don't want to say flawed or damaged for myself, but what I want to say is, with the issues that I have dealt with and gone through, I have a lot of empathy for other people that are going through it. Never mind us all being empathic, but also can really relate, like not tell somebody I know what you're going through, because I don't. But by sharing my own experience, I can share that with them. And I totally resonate with everything you said, Julie, as well. Now, I'm not as careful with my diet. I don't find I have much of an appetite. So now I just eat when I need to. I do like sweets. I never used to. But what Spirit keeps reminding me is sometimes the physical manifestation of craving sweets for myself is I'm craving more sweetness in my life, right? So I try and remind myself of that. And I don't know, I think I'm in connection, as we all are most of the time, with spirit. I find I have a lot of conversations in my head, and you don't realize till you get in a group of people. And then you go, oh God, I need to be in a quiet space. So I'm still working on the healing. And I find too, by helping others, that it gives me a lot of joy, helps raise my vibration as well. I'm very creative. So every day I have to be creating or doing something. And I always say, I try to walk the walk of the talk that I do when I'm teaching or mentoring or speaking, because I think that's where the honesty comes in and the truth, right? We have to live it. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I asked Archangel Michael to download the DNA blueprint for my healthiest body so I could process energy with more grace and ease. So if I do eat something that's, then I'm it's not written a lot, but I'm always like, I'm just going to allow my body to take in what's good, and I'm donating the rest to the universe. And
I like that.
That's how I deal with it. Kim, you want to talk about, like, because I find, when we're taking accountability of our healing journey, especially at the beginning, it's a lot and it's overwhelming. But as you move forward, what happens is we gain all these tools. So, we may feel triggered in this moment, but we know how to recognize what's going on, put our tools into place, and the time in sitting in the muck and mire of it gets shorter. So we know that we're doing a good job, and we know that it's a lifelong journey. We're just, able to maybe put some of those tools together a little faster. But I think it's important for people to hear, like, we just didn't, wake up and it was Disney right away.
But people think that. Like, don't you
find? I know, and I think that's why I wanted to, it was really why I wanted to have this conversation. So, Kimmy, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no. So when I first started, so I was pretty much rock bottom in my life at the time when I started classes. My ex-partner I was living with was still is a narcissistic alcoholic. So that came with emotional, verbal abuse and, all that fun stuff. And I got to the point where, with my kids being there, like, this isn't okay. Like this, I'm a people pleaser too. So I was constantly a fixer, right? So, I could fix them until the point I realized that this was just too unhealthy. I'm not allowing my kids to grow up and think this is normal. But in standing up for myself and moving me and my kids away from that situation, I feel like my first thing was finding my voice. Like, I never spoke my voice. I never had boundaries. I let people walk all over me. And as an Aries, that's like, not a thing. But so it was a lot of uncomfortable years of self-healing and that inner child stuff and the shadow work. And so my beginning, it was a lot, because when you get into that stuff, your subconscious blocks a lot. So when you bring that back up, it's like, wow, I've really been through some stuff. But I feel like a lot of times when I connect with other healers, we've all hit rock bottom at some point. So it's almost like we can, even if we don't know what somebody's like, we don't know exactly what they're going through, we can resonate with them. So we can hold sacred space for them to be able to, heal as well. But yeah, so my beginning was like that. And I try to tell my students now, like, when we go up for a weekend workshop, like, please don't get discouraged that you're not going to walk away from this and it's just going to be, giving readings and being able to do all this like this. Like, it took me 2 years to learn how to meditate. So it's, it all depends on where you are, but it's the process and trusting it. But yeah, so mine was the throat chakra, the boundaries, the what else? Just being able to own who I was. And also, I'm still a work in progress. I'm healing myself all the time. And I think now, I try to shove that imposter syndrome in the back and build my own confidence to be able to continue doing what I do. So it's still, like Lorilei said, a work in progress. I'm still working on myself.
For sure. And I find too, we need to encourage people to understand when they're taking those workshops with us, intuitive development, mediumship development, spiritual advisor courses, all of those things that we're doing, that it is
I'm going to take care of it for you, because
thank you.
yeah, it's not a pickup place.
Wrong
We're gonna
intention.
put the toilet. Yeah.
Wrong intention. So I think they're in a space that we are holding and elevating that energy and vibration up, so it's easier for them to hook in and tap in. So I find a lot of students find it easier when they're with us and in the group, and then they get discouraged when they leave and they're having to do it on their own. And it's because that personal journey has to kick in, right? That more of that personal accountability, and then see where it goes from there. Howie, I did see your comment and I wrote them down. So I promise I'm going to get.
Question.
Yes. Howie asked if we could discuss the difference, if we had a thought about being a psychic medium, schizophrenia, and autism, how that comes into play, or what we've noticed. And I don't know, Julie, what your background is like, but I know autism is a lot in our family. I know it is with Lorilei, and
schizophrenia in my family too.
Yeah. So his question, I think I'll see if I can roll back up to it. There we go, Howie. Question to all: would you all explain the difference between psychic mediumship, schizophrenia, autism, as well as have you noticed those in mediumship that offspring seem to have such autism or Asperger's? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Do you want me to go, or you want someone else? I didn't know if we were going clockwise still, or
Yep, going clockwise. Is that okay?
I think that's just a way to start. Like, yes, me. Well, I will tell you that going first with schizophrenia, it's on my dad's side. And for people maybe that haven't heard of that, that can be a very severe mental illness. It can be managed with medications, but once people start feeling better, they think, why am I taking pills when I feel better? And it ends up in a vicious cycle. But part of it can be that you have a lot of very strong hallucinations and hear voices and quite a few things. It's a very serious illness. And I have to say, that's why I started with this, that now looking back as a nurse, and even with some people that I've known personally that suffer from this when they've gone through an episode, like, don't get me wrong, there's obvious signs, and you can see when someone is really having a mental crisis or, really ill. But when you hear some people's hallucinations, and one person in particular, I won't bring their name up, I would never do that. But for example, they were diagnosed with schizophrenia, and yet they had donned all black leather, loaded up with some guns, and wasn't hurting anybody, but went to a place with some water because they felt they were seeing demons and shooting at them. They didn't want to hurt anybody. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, even as a nurse, obviously I can't diagnose, but it's given me pause for thought sometimes, where it's kind of been a little questionable, like, how do we know they really maybe weren't seeing something? Now, being a psychic medium, my belief is, I think that we all have the ability to be intuitive, definitely. But just as you come in naturally as a natural born leader, mathematician, singer, whatever it is, does that not mean you can't tap into any other abilities? You may not be number one at it, but if you work at it, and I think you have to, especially when you're tapping into psychic, your psychic or mediumship abilities, I think that at some level, we all can as human beings, maybe with the right guidance. Like, I took classes too, when Kim had mentioned that later in life as well, and learned a lot. I learned a lot from other people. Now with autism, that is a neurological disorder. My son suffers from it. He's 26. Carrie Lynn's met him. Lots of you have, actually, because he'll sometimes pop on the show quickly.
We have a chicken nugget date in October when I'm in Thunder Bay.
And ask me what time I'm done, because Friday night's takeout night. So he's very much like a 5 to 7 year old, with no disrespect, and he's an absolute joy. I have 2 boys. And there's many things that come hand in hand with that as as well. Social issues, you have sensory issues, language issues. I could go on and on. So to me, on the big picture, they're not all interrelated, but I will tell you that both my sons are very intuitive. And my son that is psychic, actually, I've watched him have a whole conversation with somebody when he was very young in a previous home. And she was sort of relaying back and forth what they were talking about. And it was all telepathically. So I don't think they all relate, but they do, I guess, in a way. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I made that any clearer, but
no, and it's just, and we may have theories about it too, not something that we've had experience with, but just thoughts or theories about it. Kim, do you have thoughts about that?
Yeah, I do. So I have autism in my family as well. My son, my youngest, has autism. I have nephews that are autistic. And honestly, with my son's path, I have found qualities of myself, like sensory issues. And, I was like, I'm probably on the spectrum too, not diagnosed, but I can relate to a lot of the things. But in saying that, all of my kids are open in a certain sense, and I agree with you, Lorilei. Like I believe everybody can do what we do. Just some, like sports. Some people might be better at certain things and easier to get there, but we could all work and get there the same way. But so my kids, especially my youngest, who has autism, he's very open, and I've normalized it at home, right? So where I grew up not being able to talk about it, in my house, my son will be like, oh, I saw, it'll be his great grandmother. I saw great grandma last night. She came and checked on me. And I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. So, I've tried to keep it open so it doesn't scare them like it scared me when I was growing up. I don't really have experience with the schizophrenia, but I will tell you, the majority of my life, being able to talk to spirit in my head, like you kept that stuff to yourself. Because with society, you didn't mention it to anybody unless you were in a safe space or found other people that could relate. And I'll tell you, when my son, when he first got diagnosed, we went and saw a psychiatrist, and she asked him, "Do you see spirit? I mean, do you see people or hear things that nobody else does?" And I'm sitting back going, "Oh, how is he going to answer this?" Because he does, and so do I. But he said no. But I was thinking, how do I cross this when this psychiatrist, if he was to answer yes, and so does my mom, like, how do I navigate that? But yeah, so, I mean, autism runs in our family. Does it make you more sensitive because you're more in tune to different energies or different, like, I don't know, but I know it runs in my family.
Yeah. Julie, do you have anything that you would like to contribute?
I just really agree with all of you guys. I think that they could be all separate, but I also think that it's all cosmic web. That's everything is connected, right? Every single thing is connected. And so I really don't have autism in my family. I have I do have a cousin who has Asperger's, but I don't have schizophrenia. However, I feel as though that I would love for those who are diagnosed as schizophrenia or that has schizophrenia could speak to mediums or speak to holistic psychiatrists to ask them questions to see if there's things that are very relatable with us, because maybe the medication isn't exactly what they need, or maybe it is what they need, but they're also intuitive and psychic mediums, so maybe we could work together with them. I really don't know, but I just have that pull to say that.
And to be clear too, like there's a chemical imbalance as well too. So I've often wondered how dimensional in and out sometimes they're going. So dimensionally going to different places, dimensionally tapping in, and because we want to make sure that people are getting the help and support that they need, regardless of where they are at as well too, in supporting them. I didn't mean to hijack you. I'm so sorry, Julie.
No, that's okay. No, I completely hear what you're saying and agree. I feel just like you guys, as though that anyone can be psychic and medium. I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that we are all born with the ability and the gift, and usually around 5 to 7, because of societal views and our pineal gland calcifying and all that kind of stuff, it starts to shut down and we become a little bit disconnected, or we can hang on. I just heard someone say that around the age 14, we actually have another go at it, that the pineal gland pops open again, and it gives us like another try to reconnect, which I perked my ears up, because around 14 and 15, I really dug deep into that again. But yeah, I don't have that much to say about it, besides I think it's all separate, but it is also interconnected. And I agree with you with schizophrenia. When you speak to someone who's going through, I don't know what you would call it, an episode, or I'm sorry if I'm using that wrong word, but it does sound like they are seeing multidimensional beings, or they are on another planet. And you know what? Maybe they're an extremely old soul that's bringing through a lot of cellular memory. I don't know. So it's fascinating to think about.
I have to say,
Diane?
you have a wise panel here, Carrie Lynn. Like
I
that was
agree.
answered beautifully, all of you. I'm so glad I'm
So,
here today. Thank you for asking me.
Diane, I agree with you. Yoga and meditation helps kids instead of medicine. So I will share a journey that so my kiddo, I forget, he would have been, oh gosh, just 15. He would have been about 15 at the time. And I had come home and he was on the computer and he was like tears streaming down his face, and he's in the spectrum. So this is a kid who fell and cracked his head wide open and needed stitches and didn't cry. I didn't even know until I saw the blood on the floor and followed the trail to know that he even cut his head open. Right. So they feel differently, but he was sitting and crying. And I asked him, "What are you doing?" And he said, I feel like I have acute schizophrenia. And I said, "Oh my gosh, why do you feel like you have schizophrenia?" And he said, I'm hearing people talking to me." And I said, "Okay, buddy, so let's pull this apart a wee bit. What are they saying to you?" And he's like, "Well, they're telling me how they died." And I said, "Are they asking for help?" And he said, "Sometimes." And I said, "What do you say?" And he said, "I sent them to you." And I said, "Fabulous." Like, that's a great thing that you're doing. I said, "So here's where I feel, the difference is going to be with schizophrenia. A lot of the times those messages are harmful or hurtful to themselves or to other people, right? So there's impulse and there's this swinging moods and all those sorts of things." I said, "So I feel for you. You're just tapping in like me, and you don't have to agree to do that in this lifetime. If this is too much for you, you can agree to do something different." And so just I think in and around that time too, like I was doing a lot of energetic cord cutting with them. I was doing contract, I now deem null and void contracts and agreements between Taylor and myself and this and we're moving through all of this healing and taking accountability. I took children's yoga instructor course, and I did a children's meditation facilitator course as well too. And all of those things made a huge difference, because I found when I did the energetic stuff with him, a lot of it shifted. There's still ASPE beautiful qualities that are there. I think the neurodivergent definitely is within our whole family structure, myself included. But doing those things on a consistent basis, where you're kind of dumping that energetic garbage can of that builds up when we leave the house and comes on to us, makes a huge difference. So
You said something really important there, Carrie Lynn, about the advice you gave your son, that you don't have to choose this. You can choose something different. Because I find, and maybe it's because they grow up in a family this way, but most of us that have children, it becomes second nature, right? Because mom's doing this stuff. But I know with my eldest, he struggled with, a lot of depression and things like that, being so empathic. Like even now I'll forget, he's on his own now, but if we go to a mall together and he'll start to get cranky, and then I'll say, "What's with you, mom? malls, remember? And I have taught him how to manage his gifts and what, but where I'm going with this is there was a time when he was growing up a few times where he said, I don't want this. I'm not doing this. I don't want anything to do with this. So we would have a conversation about it's okay to, if you don't want to be dealing with this right now, and walked, sort of held his hand as he went through it, never pushed him, but when he was ready to embrace it again, to be able to support him that way. And I think that's important for all people to hear, because I almost feel like we're having a new breed of children, if you will.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. Diane, I agree. My kiddo is brilliant and thriving and creating a magical life for himself. And I feel that they are so tapped in and tuned in that when we made those soul contracts to be a family unit, it was they're choosing to help. I feel my kids chose to help remind me who I was on that level so that I could take ownership and hold space for them so that they could be fully who they are, right? So it started being of service for my family. And when I felt comfortable with my family, could do this outside of my family for people outside of my family.
Yeah, I agree. Can I add something really quick?
Please.
Yeah, so with my son, I realized that he could feel energy phenomenal. Like he would pick up on others' energy. And so it made me be more mindful of my frustration or what energy I was putting out. Because I noticed when I would get frustrated with him, it would just get 10 times worse. So like my journey with him has taught me so much stuff about myself. As well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole energy thing of them being able to feel, and even my dear friend Sandra, her son is nonverbal, but she knows that feels her energy too. So like she has to be mindful of her energy because he'll react on it.
Yes. And I love tapping in with nonverbal people, whether it is, because they'll talk telepathically if you move into that space.
Yes. It's
Julie,
beautiful.
How do you have little folks at home too, right? So they're going to be energetically sensitive with you as well too. And how do you manage that within, especially with them little?
Yeah, so I have a daughter, Zoe, who's 3, and a son, Wesley, who's 5. And they're very different. I call Zoe my little fairy dipped in hot sauce. She is very spicy and so cute, but she's sassy.
I love it.
And then I have an old man, wise son. So it's very interesting because when I was pregnant with him, my psychic abilities and mediumship abilities soared. I mean, soared. And he is so fragile and emotional and sensitive, and his eyes are just, oh my gosh, he's lived so many lives. And whenever I deal with him, you have to be talk slowly and talk everything out. And with Zoe, you're very different with her. But whenever I'm parenting her, and if I can get snappier with Zoe, and I feel as though Wesley is this old, wise helicopter parent standing over me, judging me so much when I'm parenting Zoe. So he keeps me in place, man, because he'll say, Mommy, are you sure you're going to say that? Are you sure you want to say that sometimes before I say it?
Cool.
Or, and he just knows. And so he keeps me in alignment with parenting a lot. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. And I feel as though that I'm a better person because of my kids, because they make me be in the here and the now and present. And they will tell me when I'm not. And that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And but they say it with so much love. So I'm judging myself, and that's why it doesn't feel good. But they will tell me, and they will tell me with love. And so Zoe sometimes will say, Mommy, I love your heart, but I don't like you right now.
Yeah. It's incredible, right? Brooklyn used to say to me, I think that you need a timeout. I think you need to put your energy in another space come back when
You know what the freakiest thing is, just to jump in really quickly, when my eldest was around 3.5 years old, and I really couldn't get out of bed for quite a few years with my back, but I thought I was hiding it from him. And maybe it was 3.5, and he came up to me, and I was always trying to be pleasant and happy and everything. And he said to me, "Mama, your back really hurts today, doesn't it?" And I said, "Yes, honey," or "Yes, baby, it does. But why do you say that?" And he blew my mind. He said, "Well, normally you have all these really pretty colors like the rainbow all around your head and your body, but today it just looks really gray." Out of the mouth of babes, right? So I think that's why I say we can all do this, because we are also tapped in as little ones when we hear what comes out of our babes' mouths, right? Well, they're not babies, but you know what I mean.
And I feel it really holds us again accountable in how we are doing the healing aspect of it, like asking for energy to be transmuted back into love, so that we're not just, doing this healing work where we're dumping things into our space where our families are living too, and they're extra sensitive and feeling all of that stuff. It's a lot. And I wanted to bring that up just to share what Contessa is sharing with us. I grew up in a home where my mom saw spirits a lot, and my dad performed weekly rituals for cleansing and healing. And I witnessed a lot of strange stuff happen. This all scared me as a kid. And she continues, "My parents never explained anything to me, and I wish they had. I think I have blocked myself so much that it's hard for me to experience anything spiritual." And this comes back to, again, being aware of what's going on around us, right? And communication and communicating and being open to hearing and learning continuously. The parenting part is how I started. My coming out was actually spiritual parenting and a podcast for parenting kids that were sensitive and intuitive. So that's my passion place to go to, right? So I'm sorry, Contessa, that was that experience for you. But I'm grateful that you have found a place where you feel safe to be vulnerable and tap in ways that are comfortable for you, and being, because when you participate in the chats in a panel like this, we're talking about things open up for us, and we're feeling stuff, right? Okay, I just want to ask can I ask a fun question now?
We always ask fun questions. I had her on my show when she first came on very quickly, and then she had me on her show, Carrie Lynn, and she said, "Do you want to have fun?" I said, "Of course." And nobody had ever asked me this before the question she asked, and I've never forgotten it. And it was, "Who do you fangirl over in the paranormal group?" Not that I'm saying you're going to ask that, but I know you ask great questions, so I had to throw that in there. It's always stuck with me, because no one.
As to your fangirl, who are you a fangirl of? Who do you crush over? And it's not necessarily that it's like a physical attraction thing. It's just like, who do you like? Who do you fangirl over?
Take
right?
your breath away.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. Big love, Contessa. Diane, I'm glad that you found your soul family as a kid, and that they were able to help you with your psychic abilities.
I think it happens when the timing's right too, right? I really try to tell myself that whenever anything happens, it happens when it's meant to happen. I don't know. That's what it feels like for me anyways.
Okay. This is the question. I'm going to ask two questions. So the first one is going to be, if you could have someone narrate your life, who would you choose to be the narrator?
Oh, I know.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I know. Keanu Reeves.
Really? How fun. What is it?
I would like Jason Momoa, but I'd probably, not that I guess I'd have to write it or something, but no, Keanu Reeves. I think he'd do it with a bit of fun, a bit of seriousness, a bit of empathy. Yeah, I'd pick him.
Julie, do you know who you would?
Not yet. I'm still thinking.
I've never been asked that question. I'm never going to forget this question either.
Wow.
I I think it's
Kim?
a cool question.
Yeah, so mine would be Morgan Freeman.
God.
Oh, I him.
It'd be God.
Yeah, I think I would have Kristen Bell.
Oh.
Oh, that's cool.
She just goes for it, and she can do great fluctuations with her personality and her voice. She just, because I've held different personalities throughout my life, and I've changed a lot, and I just feel like she could nail it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Carrie, then don't leave us hanging.
Right? Who's yours?
Yeah.
I would think Jennifer Tilly.
Oh.
She's just funny.
Yeah.
She's just funny, and her voice, I just love her voice.
Mhm.
And she tells things like it is. Yeah, Jennifer Tilly.
Lorraine, I was thinking that too. Lorraine Elder Ross says, Julie, you actually remind me of her being Kristen Bell. That's what I thought too. I wasn't going to say it, but I thought that too.
Oh, that's great.
That's fun.
Um,
Yeah, Sandra was
Funny.
Sandra was sharing James Earl Jones.
Mhm.
I think that's a good one too.
Yeah. Darth Vader.
Right? So much fun.
voice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jennifer Tilly, that would be who
I
would
think that's
choose.
awesome.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great.
Okay. A show or movie, a TV show, whether it is reality and not reality, a movie, something that you feel that you resonate with, that depicts mediums in a way that you resonate with, depicts maybe what it would have been like for you to experience mediumship, or your journey as a medium, or that's most accurately from your perspective, one that you resonate with. Am I asking that well? Probably not articulating that well. In my head, it sounds right. But a TV show, or docuseries, or a movie that you resonate with how they depict mediums, or how they respectfully show how a medium would work, or what your experience was like Sixth Sense. When I watch Sixth Sense, I cry. I'm like, oh, like I resonate with you there, Haley Joel Osment. I get it. Like, so that's one in particular for me. And there's a British series that was on for 2 years, 2005 and 2006, called Afterlife. And Andrew Lincoln from Walking Dead, and I forget, Leslie Sharp. Leslie Sharp plays the medium. It's an intense show, but it too was like, every episode was like, oh yeah, I feel that very much has been my experience. So, when we feel isolated in keeping, experiences that we may have said to ourselves, sometimes we find comfort in a TV show or a movie because we feel seen or represented in some way. So I just wondered if you guys had any thoughts. I know that, Lorilei, you're not necessarily a horror movie, but if there's a show that you resonate with.
I do. And it's had mediums in there. And I did love the way that she was portrayed. I think her name was Missouri, but that's my guilty pleasure, Supernatural. I don't watch a lot of TV, but where I've had such a weird life, not that everybody's got a cookie cutter life. I can't say necessarily that anything off the top of my head that I resonate with, but where I do resonate with, if you will, and I'm not magic, that's not what I'm saying, but anything to do with that time period, like with, fairies and back to the days of King Arthur and all that stuff. Like, for example, the Sandman, like I just could not stop watching.
Sandman was so good.
And it wasn't really to that
Anything
time.
Neil Gaiman. Yeah.
Pardon?
Neil Gaiman, period.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So that's what I resonate with more. I hate to make it sound like what we do is supernatural, but it's not within the norm. I always say it's not something you could stand in line or on queue, depending on where you live, and you're waiting to pay for your groceries in the grocery store, for example, and have a conversation about what we're doing, or even anything within this realm. And I don't want to make it sound elitist, because usually if someone kicks that door open and you've got a group of people a little bit, another person does, and before you know it, everybody's talking about it, but it's not something that's generally talked about, making just general chat. So
fun. Do you guys, Julie?
I'm thinking.
I think, the movie Ghost really sticks out in my mind because I feel like I can channel, meaning trans channel. I can do that. Not as exaggerated as Whoopi was.
No.
And I think that that's a little bit misconstrued, maybe. I don't know. There are people
100%.
out there, who knows, but for me. But Patrick Swayze, how he's so there, that's when I bring in spirit, and they're showing me how they live about their day sometimes with their loved ones. It really aligns. I just, not saying that our loved ones on the other side all day, every day are there, and only focusing on us, but it really, that paints a really good picture. And then a fun one is The Magicians, I think it's called, on Netflix. There's like 5 seasons. And that's fun. And I can see aspects in me of what I've trained myself to be able to do, like remote viewing and that kind of stuff. And they highlight all of that. So that's really fun for me. So that's what I have to say.
That show that I was mentioning from 2005, 2006 is called The Afterlife. It's called The Afterlife. It's intense. Some of the episodes are quite intense, but definitely truthful. And I agree with you with Ghost. It's very similar. And trans channeling for me has been quite a journey as well too, because it happened involuntarily the first few times, where they're like, because I was like very scared. They're like, we're just gonna make you not scared. Plump. Like, okay.
Wow.
And I think that's fun. Avatar, like the animated series that was on when my kids were small, that's how we really made it normal too, right? Channeling and allowing things, energy to move through us, and how we can manifest and be powerful.
Can I ask something before Kim answers? Did any of you just hear a man's voice? No? I just heard a man's voice come over here, so I'll mark it. Maybe we'll have to check it after.
Timestamp it and see if we caught an EVP. We do it a lot. We catch EVPs a lot when we're doing the show.
Sorry, Kim. I'm trying to hear what you have to say.
You're fine.
I want to put that out.
So I'm sitting here thinking, obviously I haven't watched enough shows because I was drawing a blank, but Ghost was on the tip of my tongue as soon as you said it. But I feel like the part of Ghost that really resonated with me was when she did out Ditto, and then his wife turned around, because a lot of times in my readings, if I'm honoring what I'm hearing and I just spit it out, it's that aha moment for my client of being like, that's my loved one. So watching that moment was like, that happens in my readings too. So it's beautiful to watch, it on TV about something you personally experience as well. So Ghost was mine.
I love that. Denise's question? Oh, the question that I asked. Oh, yeah.
You have some good questions.
I'm
not surprised, but still, they're good questions.
So another question that I have was like, what do you appreciate the most about your abilities? So if you could explain what the abilities are. I hardly use like the language. Like I don't say clairs very often. I see, hear, feel, taste, smell. It's very sensory for me. That's kind of how I explain it, instead of using all of like the technical sort of terms. I guess, what do you appreciate the most about being sensitive to, and maybe what one have you learned to have to adjust to the most? Because we have ones that are always going to be the strongest first, and ones that aren't, right? Ones that take a little time, or maybe overwhelming for us, that are hard to adjust to, right? But they all do. The muscles start to grow. The more we do the work continuously, we have more things happen. So, what was the hardest adjustment, and what do you appreciate the most about the gifts that you have personally, not professionally, what we do for other people, but for yourself?
Do you still want to go clockwise, or what do you?
I don't remember where I left off, so we're going to start with you, Kim.
Okay. So I always tell people it's like playing charades with spirit. I never know how they're going to communicate. But I would say the one that I am still working on and trying to build the most is my clairvoyance, actually, because I feel like as a kid, I saw phenomenally as a kid, just like another person there, but it scared me so much. I like shut it down so much. I feel like I'm trying to like peel away those layers of shutting it down and saying, okay, I'm okay with seeing now. So I feel like I'm still building that. But for personally, oh gosh, just being able to go within and build relationships with my team that has my back, and being able to see. So I've actually built a relationship with an uncle who passed away before I was born, but I've been able to get to know him through meditation and get to know him. And he's actually one of my guides. He's like my spirit cheerleader on the other side. So I feel like that's what I'm most blessed about having these, is just being able to connect with my guidance and honor who I am, truthfully.
That's beautiful. Diane, I like this that you're sharing. Thank you. All seven clairs, but I ask spirit to not appear unless it's life or death information. And I feel that's important for people, again, to understand that we can shift and change. Cigarette smoke, when it would come in, used to make me gag. And I'm like, that's not working for me. You need to show me in a different way. And it's okay, because people see it as a gift and they just allow. And if you are not comfortable, you can't do the work. Like if you have to be okay with it, right? Julie, would you like to share?
Sure. My favorite thing about this is being the telephone line for people. And in a way, it's sad that people have or feel as though that they need the telephone line. They need me to speak to their loved ones, because I just want to say, but you can do it. But some people don't want to do it. Some people are grieving too much. Some people don't have the time or energy. There's so many different reasons why. So to be honest, I'm so blessed that I can be that, and I am that. And anytime I make a connection, I'm just really wowed still every single time, and I'm still so grateful every single time. It's really the healing.
Could I ask you to share? You made a post for your dad's birthday that was beautiful. Beautiful. It was beautiful about how your family honors and respects you, how you could tap in. Do you feel comfortable to share that story that you shared in that post? Because I think that would be powerful for people to hear.
I think something is working with you to ask me that question, because I know that my dad and my mom and my aunt are watching, which hello. And my dad's brother had passed, and his wife is with my dad today. So I have a feeling you asked that because I was talking to my dad's brother on the other side through his birthday. So my dad, it was his birthday, and gosh, we were just filing in to sit down to have a birthday dinner. And as we all sat down and we said grace, his whole family in spirit, because he's the only one left out of his big old family, he's the only one left. And I really can't even imagine that. Even though he has, his wife, my mom, and then us girls, but that's just different, I think. And they came filing in, all of them, and they stood semicircle around, and they were singing happy birthday to my dad with us. And like the whole entire dinner, probably for an hour and a half, they were just chiming in with our humanly conversation. And so I was saying, Dad, Dan, your best friend is saying that you should have bought the duffel bag. And here he was at a show the day before looking at a green duffel bag. And, and it was just really beautiful because everyone in that room in human flesh were conversing with the other side, which is the big old family that was here. And it was just a whole 90 minutes of just us all talking and reminiscing. And it was really beautiful. And I'm so grateful that my family believes in this and supports me. I honestly can't imagine growing up with parents who would not support. I don't know what is. I don't know what that would feel like, and my heart goes out to anyone who had or is currently struggling with that. So it was really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. And that's what it feels like, right? When we're sharing with people, it's this beautiful conversation and we're just in the middle, and it really is an honor and a privilege to be in the middle of these conversations and connections. Is there a sensory or a way that you receive that has been a bigger adjustment or a more challenging?
Sure.
Challenging adjustment?
I would say not when it comes to my senses. They all really work nicely together. But what I've noticed is that if spirit will show me something, they will show me so hard. But let's just say once in a while they'll just show me carrot cake or something so odd. And I'll say it, and then I'll smell it, and I'll taste it. And they just keep showing it to me. I'm saying, can you tell me what the heck you're trying to say? Because my client's not getting it. And that sometimes can be frustrating because they will not hang up the carrot cake until we figure it out. And they'll keep coming back and keep coming back. And so sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating for me. So I'm saying to myself, like, am I missing a step here? Is there something else that I could be doing? Because I'll say, please tell me in another way, or what is this connected to, or who is this connected to? And then maybe like 5 minutes later, when finally I break from that and we're talking about something else, the answer will come. And it's just like, why didn't it come then? I don't really understand that. So that is something that I can be hung up on in my readings once in a while.
I find I'll rub my hands and I'll clap, and it's like, I'm just going to like break up that energy because I can feel I start to hold my breath, and then it disconnects a wee bit because the frustration creates the disconnect a little bit, right? But I break it up, and sometimes it's just that I'll just do this. Okay, we're just going to take a sec. Let's see what we can do. Because I'm trying to not get up in my head, and I'm very vocal with people when I'm in sessions. I'm trying to not get up here, but the itty shitty bitty thinking is starting to happen. We need to.
I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try the clapping.
Clapping makes a difference, right? But I agree with you. When they get on like John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, because the connection isn't happening, it can get very overwhelming and frustrating. Lorilei, how do you what do you appreciate the most about how this works for you, and what do you find challenging? And then afterwards, I'm gonna have to please remind me if I keep forgetting to do the station ID again. Michelle,
do you want to do it now? And you want to do it now, and then I can wait? No, okay.
I want you to finish. Yes, thank you.
I love what everybody shared here, Julie. That was a beautiful story. And it's so nice when you do have parents that support, because I'm pretty well on my own. God, I sound like I'm feeling sorry for myself tonight, and I'm not, but I'm always honest. And this came from my dad's side. My grandmother actually knew the minute her third eldest son passed away. And so my dad is a little bit more open, but my mother makes fun of somebody like myself that would do this. So it was a strange thing to be navigating on my own, if you will. My first husband didn't really believe in it, and he didn't really support it, but he didn't belittle me for it. The partner I'm with now, again, believes in it. So that's a little bit hard sometimes. So what I've learned to do is to find my people. right? I always say when you got the internet, you got the whole world and you do find your people, and you do find people to connect with, and people that you can bounce things off of sometimes. Because like what you were sharing, I think it was you, Julie, when you were saying like the carrot cake, right? No, you're not going to do that in a reading. But say afterwards, you can talk with somebody who does the same kind of work and can understand, like we're understanding the stories everybody's sharing here, right? So that can be a bit difficult. For me, the biggest surprise, because mediumship is one of my gifts that sort of came in a little bit later. And what it was, very quickly, I had a patient, I looked after twins in the NICU, and the little boy was very ill. And then when I was a Victorian Order of Nurses here in Canada, it's called VON, that little boy was now of school age and had cerebral palsy and was on my caseload. And then a couple of years later, I hurt my back, and I happened to be out Christmas shopping, and I ran into his mom. Barnes and Nobles in the States, it's Chapters here in Canada, or Indigo. And I saw her, and as she went to give me a hug, I heard, "Tell my mommy that I love her." And we got talking, and then she told me that he had passed away a couple of months before, and I already knew. And then that kept happening that weekend. So the biggest shock for me is I've realized I've been hearing spirit my whole life and talking to them my whole life, but I never knew who I was talking to. I wasn't hearing voices. It just, you know what I mean. If you do this, you know what I mean. And so with spirit, it was like going to a different country, especially in the beginning when I was trying to learn how to navigate this and manage it, because sometimes I'd smell something, sometimes I'd see something, sometimes, and they try and use different avenues to give you, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling you, my sign for truth, I say. So that was a little surprising to me, and I don't know why it should have been, but I guess I just expected I was going to hear everything, right? So that was a little difficult. All the senses work. The one that I'm still working on is exactly what Kim said, clairvoyance. I don't always see, and I'm getting better at it, but I'm always honest. I think it was you, Julie, that brought that up. I think we have to be very, very honest in this work, as well as, and I know all of you do this, let people know that it's a safe space to share what they need to share, that it's not going to go any further. Or for example, the examples I gave, nobody would ever identify what I was talking about, but from the lesson or the gist of the story to be able to share it. So I think that's difficult. And I learn every day. And like I'm learning with you different things, like the clapping of the hands. I never even thought of that, Carrie Lynn, right?
Sometimes if you're watching me do like a large public event, or if I'm doing a larger event online, sometimes I do this, and it's because you can feel the energy starting to get really tight, and it's just a way to sort of crack it up. It's a way for me to like a physical cue to stay in my heart space, to take those full breaths, and just I envision it kind of cracking. Like when you can feel it, I envision it cracking. We're just going to take a quick second so I can do the station ID. So if you are just joining us in the chat, or if you are tuning into us live on any of the platforms where we are broadcasting and streaming from, thank you for being here. You are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM, New Orleans. And I have Lorilei Potvin, Julie Kraus, spiritual advisor, and Kim Sage, all mediums, all lovely people. And we are talking about mediumship and the journey that we're on personally and professionally. There was a question. There was a few, actually. Hi, Mel. Mel is part of Lucky Paranormal out of Thunder Bay, which is where Lorilei is as well too. And Lucky Paranormal is hosting the Lake Superior Paracon this year, and Lorilei and I will be presenting this year. So October 4th, 5th, and 6th, if you guys are interested in that. Okay, Turquoise Archer is asking, Kim, I'm going to get you to, Kim, are you okay to read this question and answer it?
Are there people here that seem to have some effect on abilities when they are present in a supportive position? I don't know if I'm following.
I'm not quite sure what they're asking either.
So, Turquoise, could you just clarify for us if you mean if there's people here that have an effect on abilities when they are present in a supportive position? So, loved ones or friends, if we're in the same space, like we did talk about that earlier when we have students, that they can tap in more, they can hear more clearly with confidence and clarity when they're in that group environment. So I don't know if that's what you meant. We kind of hit that a little bit earlier. So I'll give you a second to, if you're still here with us.
And I know for like on a personal part of it, where before I didn't have a partner that supported it all, where now I do. Like he's not interested per se in what I do, but he fully supports me and comes to events with me, you know, and helps me all, you know, so that makes a huge difference that I can be totally weird at home and be comfortable with it.
Yeah. So they're giving you permission to fully be yourself, which is tapped in on the other side, which is lovely, right?
Yeah.
Julie, from your experience, what would be a consistent message that you see, or one that you see frequently from the other side that they want us to know, what that they want their loved ones to know here?
All the time. This is almost every time, is just because I'm gone, I don't want you to stop living your own life. That is a huge message because they always say life is meant to be lived. You are still on earth. You still need to live and experience joy, and know that I'm experiencing joy right next to you. And it doesn't mean that someone can't grieve at all. I mean, I think grieving is a long journey that doesn't go away. Maybe it alchemizes at different times and all of that, but they still want their loved ones to find happiness, to continue on, and to know that they are okay on the other side, and they're there in a thought's notice, in a thought, like in a blink of an eye.
In a breath.
In a breath. You literally just have to think of their name. Actually, if I can say, Carolyn, the way that I'm a bit different than other mediums is that I really work best if someone gives me their loved one's first and last name. I can pull them in like that.
Yeah. So it can be like dial up a friend. And I try to say that to people, like, if you are comfortable and trust, if we've established trust, we can ask those, you know, people to move to the side and allow that one to pull up and connect. And it can be, people just need to trust. And that comes with a discernment in who you're choosing to have do your reading, right? And then going through those evidential stages, give me, oh yeah, you say that your uncle, show me some deets so we know for sure. and but it is, and it can be, and again, I truly believe it is when we elevate our vibration by taking care of our personal healing and getting to that space, then we can, as long as clients trust us. So I agree, it's beautiful that you are able to do that. Kathy is saying, Julie, you bring tears to my eyes. My husband said those exact things to me.
I have chills on my head. Truth, spirit. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lorilei, as you have evolved, do you find small talk with people easier or more frustrating?
It takes a lot for me to get frustrated, and I think it's because of both my boys, but especially my youngest, because I was never an impatient person, but I have really learned even more so with a lot of patience. But I will tell you what is a pet peeve of mine, not so much small talk, because I find, and I'm sure you ladies do, that people come up to you in stores, everything, they don't know you, and they want to tell you whatever they need to tell you. And then they'll say, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I don't know you. You know they need it. So and sometimes I feel bad because if I'm in a hurry, I literally will just put my head down and get in a little cocoon and do my stuff because I don't have the time. And sometimes we have to do that, right? Boundaries. And I'm still working on that. But what really, and I understand too, when something is a pet peeve and it's held up before our face, it's usually something maybe I need to work on. But where I get frustrated, sometimes I don't show it, but I try not to, is when people are stuck in victimhood, right? That becomes their story. And I can see the bigger picture and stuff. But when I've heard it, maybe for the 10th time, that's when I might get a bit frustrated sometimes.
Right. Right.
I'm being honest.
I always say to myself, and I encourage others to say,
and hold space.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to practice healthy boundaries. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to practice speaking my truth. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to, all of that is important.
I
because
send
then
the
it helps
love.
shift, right? It puts us in a positive, and we're not hanging on to the negative.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Boundaries. Sorry.
Yeah, it can be a lot. Michelle is asking, any advice for me? Started with paranormal activity and clairvoyance. My problem is shutting off.
Oh, we hear that a lot. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So when I work with spirit, I work with my chakras. I just do this kind of visual where I like make my chakras brighter. But it's also about intentions, right? So I tell my guides and I tell spirit, like I'm working, I'm ready to communicate with my clients' loved ones, even with paranormal. I, turn on per se. I set my intentions before I start working in the paranormal field. And then when I'm done, I set my intentions again to I'm closing down, like I'm grounding myself, I'm letting go of what I may have picked up energetically and doing the whole cord cutting. So and it helps me because I'm a structure person. So it helps me. But at the end of the day, it's about intentions. So for me, it's, I'm quote unquote turning on, turning off. And that's how I work. So even in the paranormal at the end of the night, I, say I'm done working and then do my Archangel Michael prayer to cut cords and ground myself. And yeah, so that's how I do it. I keep it simple. I try to tell people like it really is about your intentions. Make it simple, because if you make it elaborate and like hard to remember, you're not going to do it. So
yeah. Julie, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
No, I really agree. I think it's all about intention and imagination. I always tell my students that imagination is a bridge to your intuition. And the more that you can imagine something, the more that it truly is working. It's phenomenal how it is that simple. So if you imagine Archangel Michael coming in, if you can imagine that, so if you can close your eyes and you think of your most favorite vacation you've ever been on, you can do that by closing your eyes and you imagine Archangel Michael come in, he's coming in. And when you truly believe that as well. And so if you need to shut down, then you can turn off a light. Literally just, boop, I'm shutting down, turn off that light. But, if you've been doing a lot of work like Kim or all of us, we have, more rituals and that kind of thing. But just tell spirit how you want to work with them and they will listen. They have to listen. They have to. So simply, just say what you want and how you want to be treated and how you want them to listen as well.
Can I add one thing too?
Yes, I was going to add. I was going to come up and ask you if you would like to add too.
Thank you.
I'm
learning from all of you, and it's so cool that we're all nodding as each other's speaking. But the one thing I'll say to people, because most people can be visual, but some people aren't. Like when we speak with students, I'm sure you say sense, feel, or imagine. So if I've got a person, say, that is new and is not being able to manage with spirit, they feel like it's always on, right? Sometimes I'll get them to get a physical reminder. Whenever I light this candle, I'm ready and open for work. Obviously incorporating exactly what all three of you ladies have said, because I think our it's mind, body, spirit, right? So we have to be in alignment to connect. But for somebody that maybe hasn't made that connection back to imagination just yet, right? Like it came so freely as children, I'll say like maybe, you tell spirit exactly what you said. They're working with you. They want you to be able, that's why you're doing this, right? But a physical reminder, this is when I'm open, this is when I'm closed. Because some people need that physical, right? Mm-hmm.
That's
Michelle, the only thing that I would add on top of all of the great advice that has been shared is making sure, like when I have noticed when people are shutting down, it's feeling like they're doing everything alone, and you're not. When you're being of service, you're being of service for something greater, and you're like your uncle, my grandma is the person that steps in. So allowing maybe what feels most comfortable for you in a loved one that's crossed over, and asking them to show up every time so that you feel safe and to be vulnerable and doing the work with spirit. But remembering that you're being of service for something, and your divine team, even if you're not sure who they are always there. So asking them to be with you. So when you get uncomfortable, you're like, oh, you guys need to take this away, step in between, and feeling okay about saying those things. Like feeling okay about, this is uncomfortable. Can you step in? This is good. So making sure that you understand that too, or that you have the free will. We have free will still.
I love that. All three of you guys, what you added, that's wonderful. I think that'll really help a lot of people too, because I don't know about all of you, I'm not trying to take over here, but I'm really curious, do you find a lot more people seem to be awakening to their abilities, right? But they're not really sure how to manage them. Yeah, so I think that'll really help a lot of people, what you all shared. Mm-hmm.
So the next question that I wrote down that I'd like to, we're gonna do it in 2 steps. So how would you encourage people to prepare for a session? So we're gonna go back around this way. Lorilei, how would you encourage people to prepare for a session?
When somebody's coming to me, you mean?
If they're wanting a session, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
Like what do I do? Yeah, I know what you mean. I think
well, not necessarily what you do to prepare for a session, but how
what
you
do I advise them?
would encourage a client,
Yeah. So,
liquored
first
up.
of all, if they can get a good night's sleep, have some water beforehand, ahead of time, and with them. If they understand what chakras are, meditation, or sometimes if they're open to it, I can send them a couple different files and just say, have a quick listen. And, and I'll send them varying links. Some people are okay if plugging it in overnight, having a very quiet and, getting those chakras ready, if you will. But one of the things before a session that I do is I walk them through how to drop into their heart space to be open. I also let them know that we have free will on the other side. And I have never had that problem, but it could happen. Is I tell them, of course, we want so-and-so to come, you want so-and-so to come through. But I tell them they have free will on the other side. And again, it's never happened. Whoever we wanted to talk to, and we're very lucky they do come through. And just to relax, the other thing that's very important to me is, and I will work with clients this way, is to be able to find a way, if they would like to record the session, or I will do it for them, because I feel when people are trying to take notes or they feel like something important is coming through, I want them to sit back and just absorb what's coming through, and also to be able to refer to in the future, because a lot of times things come through that we may not hear the first time. So things like that, I guess. I wasn't expecting you to ask me that one. I've never thought about it, I guess.
Well, encouraging people. Julie, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
Yeah, well, I think for me personally, the largest one that you said was the heart openers. I think that is absolutely huge. So I would love if my clients, before they met with me, had a bit of time to go outside a little bit, maybe to be in nature. I feel like that's rejuvenating. It resets your nervous system and your energy. It opens up your chakra system. Drinking some water. Water actually pushes your emotions through you, and it's very healing. Also, water is a great conduit for spirit. So if you're dehydrated, that's not the best. But yeah, and also talk to your loved ones on the other side, or talk to your spirit team, or have an idea of questions that you want to ask. That is always helpful, because whenever I log on with my clients, like when I do when I do group readings with people, I actually talk them through a meditation to open up their heart. I actually tell them to call in their loved ones in their mind. So that helps. But when I'm doing one-on-one, I tell them my process. I say, why did you want this? What are your desires? And through that quick little talk, I really try to develop trust then. And I feel the hearts opening up to one another. And so if my clients could do a little bit of heart opening by just listening to their favorite music, or petting their dog, or doing something little that puts a smile on their face, it can do wonders for your session.
Agreed.
Kim, I know that, is there anything that you would like to add that you maybe thought of? I have another question that I'm going to start with you as well too, to extend from that.
Okay. I think the only thing to add, because a lot of times I don't talk to my client until we're like face to face for the reading. So I, like others, I explain how I work. And if I can talk to them before, I try to have them write down questions that they want to ask if they have any, because a lot of times I've noticed when you're in the reading, you forget, like you go blank. But in the beginning, I do tell them, like, especially if I'm feeling their anxiety, or I feel like things are really tense, I'll say, hey, just be open to the experience. And I try to be real with them. And I'm like, please don't just sit there and stare at me for the whole time, because it's really awkward. And they'll laugh. So it's kind of like breaking up that like stagnant energy, or that like tension. And then really when I tell them, when I'm opening up and connecting with their loved ones, if they would just close their eyes and think about something they're grateful for today, that raises their vibrations too. And then we begin.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did this event. It was a big public event. There was a lot of people there. I think, yeah, there was a lot of people at this event, but they were all so excited, but nervous excited. So like that holding their breath, the whole room was tight. And I'm like, I'm just going to close my eyes and not look at you all, because you're all stressing me out. And I did the whole thing. So when I close my eyes and I see out, I can see, it's like seeing night vision glasses with my eyes closed. So I can see where people are sitting, and their folks in spirit are lit up behind them. So I just kept doing it with my eyes closed the whole time until they relaxed. But it was like, you can feel it when people are holding their breath. So I see like high intention, low attachment, leave your expectation at the door.
I think that sums it up. Leave your expectation at the door. I like that.
Yeah. Well, because I find too, especially because we work so different, they may have seen 4 or 5, who knows how many different mediums, and we all work different. So if they're having an expectation that we work the same, and I know I focus on high intention, my focus is the highest good, greatest interest, and the most amount of healing. So we may be going to raw spots that they're not even prepared for, that come up, right, to help them move forward. So setting our intention and telling them how we work and why we work the way that we do helps them be prepared as well too. And I don't like people to talk. I'm like, I shush with love, shush out. I need you to shush for a second and really be clear about what I need in order to be able to do my job as best for them in spirit as well too, right? Like, yeah, my hope always is that a client can sit quiet the whole time, and spirit just gives me, because they should know what the person wrote down for questions. They should know what they've been thinking about, right? So my hope is they don't have to ask any questions. Let's just get this, roll through it really quick, and then we can get to the fun stuff, right? Like how they're hanging out and showing your signs and symbols for them, which is always fun when they do all that, right? Michelle is asking, what is everyone's opinion, feelings on reading for children?
That's a good question. I was going to answer.
Yeah, would you like to go through? We can go.
I think it depends on a case by case basis. Like, I can't ever say never, because if you've got a child that's old enough to maybe understand, and I would never do work with a child without their parent there, but some children, say their dad went or mom went to work, and in the morning, and they never came home, and as they get older, they're having a hard time reconciling with that. And I haven't read for a lot of children, it's always with a lot of discussion with the parent, but I can't say never, because sometimes there's been a lot of healing that's really come through. So it's not often, but like I say, it would have to be a really different situation, at least for myself. I don't know how the rest of you feel.
Kim, how about you?
Yeah. So I've never read for any young children, but my experience has been like teenagers. And again, I want their parents' permission, or I want their parents like in the room with me. And it's mainly been because they're struggling with their abilities and not quite understanding what's going on. Yeah. So I'm just kind of helping them understand that, this is normal, and how to navigate going forward, to be comfortable, or if they don't want to do it, like how to go about, voicing that they don't want to experience these things. But yeah, I always have a go-to of the parent needs to be there. And I've never done, I think the youngest I've read for was maybe like 15 with the parent there.
Yeah, it wasn't young. And that's usually what I do too. And I do support parents very quickly. I do support parents if they say seek me out with mentoring when they've got young children and they're not best how to support them. They think their kid's a real, well, I'll just use a weirdo I've heard before, right? Your child's not a weirdo. And I'm glad that you're open-minded to look to see what's really going on. And yeah, best even how to guide them. So I'm not necessarily working with the young child, but helping to support the parent, be able to support the child in the best way.
Julie, have you had any experience with that?
That what everyone is saying is basically what I do. I mostly 90% of the time work with a parent. They give me their child's first and last name. I'll tap into the energetic signature and talk about how the parent can support them. That's how I like to read a child, because it's a relationship. I don't love to get someone's energetic signature and be a peeping Tom and just talk about what's going on with that person or who that person is. And I like to look at it as a relationship and how they can best support their child, just like everyone else is saying. I will read for a teenager. If they're under 18, there needs to be consent from the parent.
So I have read smaller children that have lost siblings or parents, as with the other parents or with the parents and the other siblings included, but it's very different. I've always done a session for the parents separate first, and then the session including the kiddo separate, and then I don't charge for that second, so that I can use different language for that kiddo, because when the clients that I have had, those kiddos are having experiences, so they can talk through those experiences and dreams or signs and symbols and have them validated from somebody that's having the same thing. So I have had that. Yeah, I've worked with children's my job. I love families and supporting families and kiddos that way. So Angela, I'm just reading your question when you asked about that your son is now 9, but at the age of 2, his dad passed and came to visit, and my response always is, at 2 years old, a kiddo doesn't really know how to lie. So, supporting their truth that they're having those experiences is super important. And, maybe you guys, I know we're coming down really to the wire as well too with our time, but I find when our kiddos or our family are extra sensitive around us and they're tapping into us and they say, like Julie, you mentioned it. I know my daughter did too. So, Lorilei and Kim, maybe you can chime in that, you're feeling kind of off, or you mentioned that as well too, like you're feeling off, we need to validate that their intuition was speaking to them. So if we dismiss it by saying, fine, we're not honoring our truth, we're not honoring them, we don't have to give them all of our burdens, but we need to acknowledge that they are true, so that as they grow, they trust their intuition and don't give their power away to other people, right? We just don't want them to have the same healing journey that we had to have at the beginning. If their kids be like fully empowered and independent confidently when they leave. Woo-hoo.
But he had asked if that his dad, I guess, visits him while he sleeps. Is this true? I believe that's the easiest way for our loved ones to visit us. Would you ladies agree? Especially when you're really
when
deep
you're little, during dream.
Yeah, absolutely. In my experience as well.
Being 9 now, he's 9 and being visited, then I feel yes. We're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Yes. Could you guys, because there's 4 of us, so would you mind, Kim, sharing where people can find you, what you have coming up, all the fun stuff, the offers that you have, if they wanted to reach out to you, how they could do that, where they can find you through social media or email, whatever you feel like sharing.
Yeah, sure. So my website is www.kimsage.info. And on there, we'll have like all my upcoming events and booking services. Right now, I predominantly do mediumship readings and workshops. I love teaching beginners workshops as far as like trying to find out, your abilities and how to go forward. Even if you don't want to do readings for others, it's all about going within and being able to do the work yourself. And on Facebook is at K Sacred Sage. And there I try to be present on social media. That's a struggle for me. I feel like I'm either all in or I'm out. So I'm trying to find that balance. But on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, I do, when I'm in town and I'm able to, I do a little 1-hour segment called Sage Advice, where it's free psychic intuitive mini readings.
That's incredible. Thank you. Julie, where can people find you? What do you have coming up?
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram, Julie Kraus Spirit, on Facebook, Julie Kraus Spiritual Advisor, and then my website's juliekrausspiritualadvisor.com. The 2 things that I want to highlight, I do give one-on-one readings. Those are called energetic upgrades and intuitive life coaching. In the month of June, I have Our Sacred Space, which is our community site for people with open hearts and minds. That's half off in June for the whole month. So any new members want to come in, that's half off, which is really exciting because I read for everyone. I tell them Spirit Secrets to Success every month. They have hours of learning. And then I have a new program coming out on June 18th called Become. And I'm teaching people how to create their own spiritual advisory business. It's a 6-month program, so I'm really excited about that.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. And Lorilei?
Okay, thank you again for having me on here. I can't wait. I hope we do this again because I just love meeting you.
There's so much we didn't even get to, but this was brilliant. I am so grateful to all of you.
So, if you ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/AngelRock. I am revamping and going to my website is going to be under domain name. I'm working on that. I have 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for many paranormal things, the Angel Rocker Tribe for more spiritual. And please, I'd love to have you join me here on UPRN on Monday nights with the Angel Rock 6 to 8 p.m. and the Thing at the Foot of the Bed on Thursdays with David Hansel here at 7 p.m. And thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, it was great. I was talking to Sean Kelly today. Sean Kelly is a UPRN host here. He has Into the Night on Sunday evenings and Tuesdays. And he asked if I would do him a favor and pop in and hang out with him on Sundays. So if you guys are looking for something to do Sunday night, you can come hang out with me and Sean on Into the Night. I think it's at 7 from 7 to 8 on Sunday evening. We have the Paracon My newsletter will be going out maybe tomorrow if I get it finished tonight. So if you go to my website, which is carrielanshellhorn.com, I give a newsletter out the first of the month that has intuitive tips. It has upcoming events, and it has who the guests are going to be on the show for the upcoming month, with all of the links for people to access. So I would love for you guys, if you want to sign up for any of that, please hang out if you would with the UPRN network, because Jeffrey Pritchett, we love Jeffrey. Jeffrey Pritchett is up next with the Church of Mavis. And next week we had a little bit of kerfluffle with the schedule. So Lily Nova, Julie, I think that you'd really be interested in Lily next week. So Lily Nova is a CE5 practitioner, and a CE5 practitioner, yes, a CE5 practitioner is someone who can call in dimensional beings. So calling in ETs, and she's a UFO photographer. She's written a book that's just come out. She's been all over about her experiences that have happened since 2020 and her spiritual awakening and connecting with her starseed family. So that is going to be a fabulous segment. So she's coming on next week. Lily Nova will be here. So I hope that everyone comes and joins us next week. So thank you to the UPRN network, the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM New Orleans. Thank you to Joe Montaldo, the owner of our network, who I'm so grateful to, and Michelle DeRocha, who is our network manager, for asking me to be a part of this wonderful network, because it's been a year now. And to all of you that participate in the chat, thank you so very much. I know that it was a lot of people in the chat tonight. If I didn't get to you, please know that I was seeing it, and I appreciate you being here. And I'm so grateful for all the energy and the great comments and questions that you bring to the show. So thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.